ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रा सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओं तत्सत्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताका स्वामिनिति नामिने नमो आचार्यपादाय निताय कृपापदायिने गौरकथाधामदाय नगरग्रामतारिणे हरे कृष्ण। So we have started chapter 4 last week. So let me summarize a little bit till what happened. In the first chapter, Vishad Yoga, we saw Arjuna had four arguments: compassion, no enjoyment, sinful reactions, destruction of the dynasty. I think you all know very well now what are those. Compassion towards relatives. If all relatives are dead, with whom I will enjoy, I will incur sinful reactions by killing these relatives. And if I kill all these soldiers on this battlefield, their wives will be unprotected, and thus the dynasty will be distracted. So in chapter 2, Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. Then Krishna starts chastising and starts with the philosophy of body and soul, Sankhya, and by that defeats the argument of compassion. Then Krishna comes to refute the argument of no enjoyment by Sakam Karma. Like if you do your prescribed duties, you can enjoy in heaven. So your no enjoyment argument is refuted. And then verse number 38 to 53 in chapter 2, with Niskam Karma Yoga, Krishna defeated the sinful reactions argument. That means if you do detached work, you will not incur any sinful reactions. So in chapter 1, in chapter 1, Arjuna had four arguments. In chapter 2, Krishna refutes three arguments. And in third chapter, Krishna refutes the fourth argument. Third chapter starts with Arjuna's doubt, action or renunciation. So Arjuna was doubtful about whether he should act or whether Arjuna should abandon all prescribed activities. Because Lord was telling Arjuna that you should be working in a detached manner. And Arjuna thought that Krishna is telling him to reject work only. Krishna actually told that do your duty, but abandon your attachment. But Arjuna thought that I should abandon my duty. I should not perform my prescribed duty. So Arjuna had this route, action or renunciation. Then Krishna told that you should do Karma Yoga because you are not qualified for Jnana Yoga. Then Krishna told that even if you are qualified for Jnana Yoga, you should do Karma Yoga to establish example and to teach the common people. And Krishna gave example of Maharaj Janak, and Krishna gave example of himself also. right? Then Krishna defeats this argument of destruction of the dynasty by the fact that if you do not do your prescribed duty, then people will follow you. Jad jad acharati shreshtas tad tad eve taro jana sajat pramanam krute lokastad anuvartate. So if you do not do your prescribed duty, people will follow you and they will also abandon their prescribed duty. And thus, Varna Sankara will be produced and unwanted population will be produced. So Arjuna was thinking that by fighting, by killing these soldiers, unwanted progeny will be created. But Krishna told them, no, if you do not fight, then people will follow your example that Arjuna being a Kshatriya is not doing the duty of Kshatriya and thus unwanted population will be created. So like that, Krishna defeated all the arguments of Arjuna and then Arjuna had nothing to say. Then Arjuna told, okay, Madhusudan, I understand everything. But what is that factor which forces us to do sinful activities even if we know that this is good and this is bad? Even if we know what is prescribed to us, sometimes we are diverted by some force. What is the force? So Krishna told this is lust, kamesha, krodesha, rajoguna, samudbhava. And how to conquer lust, the characteristics of lust, everything is described in the end of third chapter. So now chapter 4 is starting. So in the first part of chapter 4, so Krishna is telling that I have given the same knowledge of Gita to Vivaswan 12 crore years ago. The same knowledge. And Vivaswan gave it to Manu, Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. Then Arjuna asked that how is it possible, Krishna, that you gave this knowledge to sun god Vivaswan? Because Krishna, your age and my age is similar. And Vivaswan is many, many years superior to us. So how it is possible? You are born with me. So how it is possible that you have instructed already Vivaswan in this knowledge? You have born with me, right? So here Arjuna actually brings the point of the transcendental nature of Krishna's activities. Arjuna knows everything, but Arjuna is temporarily put into illusion by Krishna's desire. So Arjuna is asking this question, and Krishna will clarify and come to the point that my activities are different from the activities of normal living entities. So that section we will enter now. We have seen the questions of Arjuna. Arjuna has asked, how it is possible, Krishna, that you have instructed Vivaswan 12 crore years ago, but you are of same age with me? How it is possible? So now Krishna is going to answer. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna tanyaham ved sarvani natvam vetta parantapa. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births, both you have, I have passed, you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. O subduer of the enemy. So Krishna is telling, we both have taken many, many births. Just a minute. Yeah. So the personality of Godhead said that many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. O subduer of the enemy. So Krishna is telling that you cannot remember. But because I am a Supreme Personality of Godhead, I have a Satchidananda body, I can remember. The main factor why we cannot remember our past life is that we change our bodies. So with change of body, our gross memory is lost. That is why we cannot remember our past lives. But this is not the case with Krishna, because Krishna has Sachidananda, the transcendental body. So that body is never changed. So Krishna remembers everything, all the information of all the births, all incarnations, and all activities in all births. As Ram, as Nrsimha, as Krishna, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everything Krishna remembers. So here Krishna brings a distinction between ordinary birth and his transcendental birth. Then Krishna is telling, Ajo Vishan Abhyatma Bhutanam Ishwaropishan Prakritim Somadhishtaya Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So this thing is very important. Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Krishna appears by his own internal potency, not due to the law of karma. So general living entities like us, we come to this material world due to our karma. We had done some karma, and we have to uh, means endure the reactions of our fruitive activities. That is why we have to come here. Sinful activities or pious activities. But Krishna's birth is not like that. Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Whenever Krishna desires, he appears into this world by his internal potency. In every millennium. Means in every yuga. Like in Treta Ram, in Dwapar, Krishna, in Satya Yuga, Nrsimha, like that. यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So this is a very famous sloka, everyone knows. But although Krishna is telling all these official reasons, the true reason is something different. परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतं धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So these are all official reasons. Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the devotees. Vinasaya cha duskritam, to annihilate the miscreants. Dharma samsthapanarthaya, to establish the religious principles. Sambhavami yuge yuge. But paritranaya sadhunam can be done by holy name also. Krishna does not have to come for that. Draupadi was in a dangerous condition during the Vastraharan Leela. So Draupadi called by Krishna's names, Govinda, Damodar, Madhaveti. Before Krishna reached there, Krishna's holy name saved Draupadi. So Krishna's holy name is sufficient to save the sadhus. And for Vinasaya to Duskritam, Maya is enough. Krishna does not have to come. Maya is already punishing. Durga Devi is enough. And for Dharma Samsthapan, Acharya like Prabhupada is enough. So all these things, Krishna is telling this is official reasons, but really Krishna does not have to come for this. So because Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of spirituality, so these official or external reasons are mentioned here. To know the actual reason, we have to go into the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. In 10th canto, there is a verse. अनुग्रहाय भक्तानां मानुषं देहम् आश्रितं भजते तादृशी क्रीडा जाश्रुत्वा तत्परो भवेत्. So that means that Krishna is coming here to favor his devotees and to enact his pastime with his devotees. That is the actual purpose, to have pastimes with devotees, to favor the devotees. For that reason Krishna comes actually, to do his leela with devotees. That is the real reason. But these are also external or official reasons. So now the point is here, the conclusion is Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vetti tatvata tyaktadeham punarjanma naiti mamedi surjuna. Means the transcendental nature of Krishna's birth and activities. If anyone knows this transcendental nature, He does not take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So Krishna is not like us. He is not some ordinary living entity. Okay. Then, being freed from attachment, fear, anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they have all attained transcendental love for me. So by this knowledge, many people, many sages in the past, they have engaged in transcendental loving service to Krishna, and they have purified their existence, and they have become successful in spiritual life. So this is instruction for all of us. We should also know the transcendental nature of Krishna's birth and activities, and we should engage in his devotional service. Je jatha mam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manusya partha sarvas. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. So everyone actually, with whatever degree of devotion everyone is having, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. If you are a pure devotee, you are completely surrendered. Krishna can talk with you. Krishna will be visible to you. And if you do not have faith, you think that the deities are only stones. So Krishna will appear as stones. Krishna will appear as a non-living entity. So according to our degree of surrender, Krishna will reciprocate. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get result from fruitive work in this world. But many people do not understand this, and many people are not interested in the worship of Vishnu or Krishna. They want immediate pleasure, and for that they worship demigods. According to three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. Chaturvarnam Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet non-doer, being unchangeable. So this Varnashram system means Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. This system is created by Krishna only. And this is a very nice system to run human society properly. Like the Brahmanas are head of the society, the Kshatriyas are the arms of the society, the Vaishyas are the belly, and the Shudras are the legs. All these components are necessary. And this is based on Guna Karma. This is not by birth. Point to be noted. This Varnashram system is not by birth. It is according to the Guna and Karma. Quality of work means it is according to one's nature. This Varnashram is decided. This is not due to birth. So now we can see this is a very nice system to run human society, and it is created by Krishna only. But many people have misused this Varnashram system as caste system. So caste system is a perverted thing of Varnashram. Varnashram is very pure, and this is created by Krishna, and it is required. But this caste system is created by the perverted people of Kali Yuga. So this is not same. Okay. And although Krishna has created this Varnashram system, he is out of this Varnashram system. Means Krishna, although has taken birth in a family of Vaishya, Krishna is not a Vaishya. You should understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the creator of this system, but he cannot be categorized that okay, you are also in this system. Right? These three modes of material nature, this Varnashram system, everything is created by Krishna. But Krishna is transcendental to all of this. He is not under these things. So therefore, this Varnashram system is very important. Prabhupada also emphasized on this point many times. Yeah, so in this Varnashram system, as I said, that Brahmanas are like the head, and so they give Shastric information, and they have knowledge of Shastra, and by that they guide the society. Basically, the Brahmanas in previous days, they used to be ministers, like Chanakya was minister of Chandragupta Maurya. So the Brahmanas will give scriptural knowledge to the Kshatriya, and Kshatriya will run the administration according to Shastra. and the Vaishyas will be the fundraisers. Krishi, Goraksha, Vanijya. Okay, agriculture, banking, and all these things. And then the Shudras, they will execute everything, like the labor class. But it is not that in Vedic age, it is not that the Sudras used to be seen in a very low class attitude, not like that. If you think that all these four varnas from four varnas, they are actually compared to different organs of our body. Like Brahmanas are compared to head, Kshatriyas are compared to the arms, Vaishyas are belly, and Shudras are legs. So can you say that my legs are not required? So can you cut off your legs? Will it be very good? So like that, all these four varnas are required to run a society. So it is not that he is superior or he is inferior, not like that. Brain is also important, but hands and legs are also important. If you have only brain, what will you do? You can go on thinking for eternity. You can do nothing. You cannot execute anything. So this Varna division is not due to insult anyone or insult the Sudras. I am superior, you are inferior. This is due to, this is according to the quality of work one is executing. Right? So we should understand the spirit. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work. So there is no work prescribed for Krishna, and Krishna is not affected by the fruits of action. So, like in the previous verse, also, Krishna told that Krishna is beyond this Varnashram system. Krishna is Swarat, he can do anything. But still, as a Vaishya, he is executing the duties of a Vaishya, like herding the cows. Krishna also did these things in Vrindavan, right? We had Gocharan, Leela, and all that. So that is due to educate, because Krishna wanted to educate common people. But Krishna is not under this Varnashram system, and Krishna has no obligation to do all these things. But still, Krishna does to educate normal people so that they do not abandon their prescribed duties. All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. The previously many sages have known the nature of Krishna, that Krishna is transcendental and he is the creator of the Varnashram, but he is transcendental to this Varnashram system. And by knowing this, they have done their duty. Whatever prescribed duty that sages have, they have executed that and they have perfected their life. So you should also do your duty, Arjuna. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. So it is karma and akarma. What is karma, what is akarma, and what is bikarma? So karma is basically fruitive activities, like the fire sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, karma kanda. By performing this fire sacrifice, you will go to heaven. So one is performing that. So the motive is to enjoy sense gratification. So some people want, everybody actually wants to enjoy sense gratification. Some people go to Vedas and they see what Vedas say for gratifying my senses. So Vedas say that okay, you do this fire sacrifice and go to heaven. So some people does that. So they are called karmis. And some people does not care about the Vedas. They want to do sense gratification. They do meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex, which are not recommended in the Shastras. So they are called bikarmis, or they are sinners. They are doing sinful activities, right? So when the motive is sense gratification, if you do in a Vedic manner, you are called a karmi. If you do in a manner which is not recommended in the Shastra, you are called a bikarmi. So this karmi and bikarmi, both the purpose is sense gratification. And when your purpose is not sense gratification, but to gratify Krishna's senses, you are doing akarma. Atmendriya pritivancha tare boli kam, Krishnendriya priti ichha dhari premanam. So when you are trying to satisfy your own senses, you are either karmi or bikarmi. But when your motivation is not to gratify your senses, but to gratify the senses of Krishna, to please Krishna, then you are doing akarma. And that akarma is called devotional service. And the devotional service, by doing that, you will be free from all karmic reactions. It will not generate any new karmic reactions. And whatever karmic reactions you had earlier, that will be also destroyed. Karman nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So that is called akarma. So Krishna will explain this. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Inaction means akarma. Means if you are doing something for Krishna, there will be no reactions produced. So therefore, it is called inaction. It is as good as not doing any activities because you are not getting any reactions. But actually, devotional service or inaction is better than not doing any activities. If you do not do any activities, that is a way of impersonalist. You may end up in Brahma Yog, like a Jnana Yoga. But if you do your activities for Krishna, you will be transferred to Golok Vrindavan. You will achieve bhakti, which is superior to mukti. So this devotional service is called inaction. Forbidden actions mean breaking the regulative principles, doing sinful activities. And action means fruitive activities which are mentioned in the Vedas, or like pious activities, charity, opening a school, college, hospital, like that. Those are called actions. Pious activities or activities which are prescribed in the Shastras for sense gratification. Forbidden action, Bikarma, is doing sinful activities, and inaction is devotional service, by doing which you will not produce any new karmic reactions, and all the previous karmic reactions will be also burnt up. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is transcendental position. He is in transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So we have to see inaction in action, in and action in inaction. So that is an intelligent man. So this means actually that you have to understand what action inaction means. So inaction is devotional service that I discussed already. So if a person is doing a devotional service, try to understand this is very subtle thing. Like a devotee. In our voice we have devotees, and in IIT campus there are karmis, right? So externally the devotees and the karmis are doing the same thing. They are also going to classes, they are also studying, they are also giving exam and all that. If a third person comes, you will see that devotees and an ordinary person is doing the same thing. But the difference is in consciousness. The devotee is doing for Krishna's pleasure, and the karmi is doing for his own sense gratification. He wants to earn money, he wants to get established, name, fame, and everything. So, although the devotee is doing action externally, he is not doing any action. So, this is called inaction in action. You understood? Externally, it will seem that the devotee is acting, he is in active karma, but he is not doing any activities for him. He is doing everything for Krishna. Therefore, this is inaction. So, this is called inaction in action. And what is action in inaction? Action in inaction means if a person, like an impersonalist or a Mayavadi, is externally telling everything the Jagat is mithya, everything is Maya, I will not do any activities. But internally he has the desire for sense gratification. So that is the situation of a mithyachari. Internally he has the desire for sense gratification. Externally he is showing that I am not doing any activity, I am only meditating, like impersonalist. So although externally his behavior seems like inaction, but he is actually in action. He has to suffer the reactions of his work, because the impersonalist is not engaged in devotional service. Therefore, his so-called inaction is not inaction. He may be externally not acting, but he has internally the desire for sense gratification. And if someone is not engaged in Krishna service, it is the nature of the soul that he cannot be idle. He must be doing some activities. So if you are not engaged in Krishna's service, then you will be engaged in Maya service. You will be doing sense gratification. So therefore, although the impersonalist externally, it seems that he is not doing any action, but he is actually doing sense gratification. That is action. So therefore, we have to understand that externally, a devotee may seem that he is acting, but he is actually in inaction. But impersonalist, may it seem that he is doing inaction, but actually he is not doing inaction, he is in action. So this is a subtle thing. So I hope this is clear. If there is any doubt, you can ask at this point only. Action in inaction and inaction in action. And what is action, inaction, and forbidden action? That means karma, karma, vikarma. Is this clear? You can raise hand or you can unmute and speak if you have any doubt. Otherwise, at the end of the session, I will ask questions.
Bro, I understood this, but here it is there. One who sees this, he is in transcendental position.
Yeah.
What
So,
is that means?
so like only devotees can understand this. These intricate philosophy, what I said, I have known it from my senior devotees and Srila Prabhupada. So if you are not a devotee, you will not understand. You will classify a devotee as a karmi, and you will classify an impersonalist as a tyagi. But you can truly understand this thing only if you are a devotee. Got it?
And why again it is written, although engaged in all sort of activities?
Yeah, like this is about the third person. Although that third person is engaged in all sorts of activities,
If
like
he
we are,
sees this, then he is in transcendental position.
yeah, like the devotees are also engaged in all sorts of activities, but he is intelligent among men and he is in transcendental position. So this thing, one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction. Yeah. So I can replace this phrase by the word devotee. So that devotee is intelligent among men. Therefore, he can understand action in inaction and inaction in action. And that devotee is in transcendental position, although that devotee is engaged in all sorts of activities.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
So let us proceed then. Yeah. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. So one who is in full knowledge, he is not endeavoring for sense gratification. He is doing everything for Krishna. He is said by the sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burnt up by the fire of perfect knowledge. One who is working with the knowledge that I should do akarma, I should do devotional service, I should offer everything to Krishna, I should do everything for Krishna. For that person, there is no reactions. Reactions are already burnt up. Karmani nirdahati kintucha bhakti bhajam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Although that person is engaged in all kind of undertaking, like our devotees are doing job also, business also, as students we are studying also, the TOVP devotees, they are doing construction work also. Although engaged, devotees are engaged in all kinds of undertakings, but they are transcendental. They are doing everything for Krishna. This is not fruitive action. This is akarma. This is devotional service. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus, working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. So, this is true knowledge. So, this chapter 4 is Jnana Yoga. The true knowledge is that I should do all my activities as offering to Krishna. That is the true knowledge. Therefore, in 7th chapter, it is told that Bahunam Janmanamanta Jnanavan Mam Prapaddate. The culmination of knowledge is devotional service. You have to come to the point of Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Krishna is everything. Do everything for Krishna. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of his own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. So this is the qualities of that person, Gyani, the true Gyani. So in the overview, we can see chapter 4, 1 to 4, there is questions of Arjuna. Then Krishna answers the transcendental nature of his appearance and activities. After that, Krishna in 11 to 15, he is the creator and culmination of all paths. He is not affected by karma. He is transcendental to Varnashram system. Then 16 to 24, karma, akarma, bikarma. So that section we are going on. This is 23rd verse. So karma, akarma, bikarma is being explained here. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Right? Unattached to the modes of material nature. So this is only possible for a devotee or a true Gyani. A true Gyani is a devotee and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. So he is in the transcendental platform. So this does not mean that impersonal merging. Okay. Yeah. So you can read this purport. Srinivas Prabhu, you can read.
Becoming fully Krishna consciousness, one is freed from all dualities and thus is free from the contaminations of the material modes. He can become liberated because he knows his constitutional position in relationship with Krishna, and thus his mind cannot be drawn from Krishna consciousness. Consequently, whatever he does for Krishna, who is the primeval Vishnu. Therefore, all his works are technically sacrifices because sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Person Vishnu Krishna. The resultant reactions to all such work certainly merges into transcendence, and one does not suffer material effects.
Yeah. So that is the meaning of merging into transcendence. That means he is always situated in the transcendental level. Such a person, a true Gyani. So maybe we will do up to this section, then we will start the next section in the next class. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantabyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So this can be found in one of the Mayavadi organizations. This is their Prasadam prayers. I will not mention. If you are interested, you can inbox me because this is a public class. So therefore, I will not mention the name. But this is not a Mayavadi verse. So like from the previous verse only, this is the extension. So now the actual Vaishnava understanding of this verse will be discussed. So the Mayavadi is what they tell. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havir Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantabyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Everything is Brahma. Like a living entity is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Living entity, you are also Brahma. Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are also Brahma. And therefore Brahma is offering to Brahma. And whatever is being offered, that is also Brahma. And everything is same. Advaita, Mayavad. But this is not like that. This is not the correct explanation. The correct explanation is a person who is absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities in which the consummation is absolute, that which is offered of the same spiritual nature. So the point is, the one line essence of this verse is everything depends on consciousness. If you use a material substance in Krishna's service, that attains the spiritual nature. This is the actual explanation. Like I am using this laptop to discuss Bhagavad Gita. So now this laptop has attained spiritual nature. Brahma. Brahma means spiritual. So Brahmarpanam Brahma Habir Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam. Means when the consciousness is spiritual, then the person who is offering becomes spiritual. The thing which is offered becomes spiritual. And the result of that offering means the destination also becomes spiritual. So let us explain this thing. The jiva or the living entity is called the marginal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Tatastha Sakti. The Lord has three primary energies, Antaranga, Bahiranga and Tatastha. Bahiranga means Maya in this material world. Antaranga means Yogamaya in the spiritual world. Tatastha means the living entities. Living entities are called Tatastha because this Tatastha word comes from Tat. Tat means the banks of a river. The banks of a river is sometimes wet and sometimes dry. When there is flood, it is wet. And when there is less water, it is dry. Therefore, the marginal living entities or Tatastha Shaktis like us, we have the choice whether we want to stay with Maya or whether we want to stay with Krishna. Whether we want to associate with the Bahiranga potency, whether we want to associate with the Antaranga potency, we have the choice. The Mahatmas are under the Antaranga potency. Mahatmanas tu mam partha daivim prakriti mashrita. Bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadim abhayam. And the person who are after sense gratification, they are under the Bahiranga potency or Maya Shakti, Mahamaya. So therefore, when the living entity is offering to Krishna, so his intent is spiritual. Therefore, he is taking shelter of the Yogamaya potency. He is taking shelter of Antaranga Shakti. So that Tatastha living entity becomes spiritual. Understood? So if you offer with a spiritual intention, you become spiritual. The one who is making the offering. Secondly, the object which is offered, that I gave example, like a microphone during Harikatha, it is being used, or this laptop. All these things are material in nature. If I use in any materialistic activity, it has no value. But if we use these things in Krishna service, they attain spiritual nature. So if your intention is spiritual, you become spiritual. Whatever you use in Krishna's service, that becomes spiritual. And your destination becomes spiritual. By doing that offering to Krishna, you will go to Golok Vrindavan, which is a spiritual planet. And if you do not do that activity with a spiritual intent, you do with a material intent to enjoy sense gratification, you will go to hellish planet or you will go to Swargaloka. So Swargaloka or hellish planet, they are material destinations. But if you offer to Krishna, if you serve Krishna, you will attain spiritual destination. So I hope this is clear now. If your intention is spiritual, consciousness is spiritual, consciousness is to serve Krishna, then you become spiritual. Whatever you offer, that becomes spiritual, and your destination also becomes spiritual. This is the actual meaning of this verse. And those Mayavadis, they have destroyed everything. They are telling you are Brahma, I am Brahma, everything is Brahma, whatever is being offered, that is Brahma, everything is one, we are all God. What nonsense. That is why you should read this Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is defeated by Lord Chaitanya. You can also get all these things in teachings of Lord Chaitanya. How Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smashed Mayavad philosophy. And Prabhupada was also very furious about the Mayavadis. So you should be careful about that. So this is the actual explanation of this verse. And this ends the section, Karma, Karma, Bikarma. And we will start the next section, attaining Jnana through different kinds of sacrifices or yajna. And then there is an important verse, approaching Guru, Tadviddhi Pranipatana Pariprasnana Seva, and that is the ending of the chapter. So from 4.25 onwards, we will discuss in the next class. Thank you very much for attending. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions, you can ask now.
Hare Krishna, bro.
Yes, bro.
Bro, what are gross memories? You told
Yeah,
na?
yeah. Gross memory means like we have this brain. The brain also has a component of memory. When you change the body, this gross memory is deleted. And there is subtle memory which is associated with our subtle body. When we transmigrate from one body to another, there is an impression. Like we may not sometimes remember the details, but we have impression. Like if someone in the last life was killed by a deadly weapon, so he will have a fear towards these sharp weapons. So that is called impression. Maybe he is not remembering the details, how, who killed me, with what weapon, but he generally has an impression. He is automatically fearful by seeing a sharp weapon. So this is called impression, and this is actually the subtle memory. But sometimes, by the grace of the Lord, some people can remember the details also. So that is completely due to the grace of the Lord. So Lord actually gives some samples in front of us so that they can remember their past lives. And the fact of reincarnation have some live cases. Means most of us, we do not remember our past lives, because if you remember our past lives, then we cannot enjoy. We have come here to enjoy in this material world, and Lord is facilitating our enjoyment, right? So therefore Lord removes our memory, that okay, with a new fresh memory you start enjoy again. And after your crores of lifetime of such enjoyment, you will once realize that this material enjoyment is actually futile. The spiritual enjoyment is superior to this, and then you will come to me. So Lord is actually facilitating our desire. We want to enjoy. Lord is telling, okay, I am making arrangements so that you can enjoy better. So I am removing all your bad memories, because this material world is very bad. So in every moment we are accumulating bad memories. So if we remember all our previous memories, then we will have not desire to enjoy anymore, because we will remember that I was once a hog and I was eating stool and I was being beaten. So then that will be horrible. Therefore Lord erases our memory and gives us opportunity to enjoy with a fresh memory, but also give some samples. Some people can remember their past lives. So that is by the mercy of the Lord. And subtle memory is actually the impression. The impression remains. Like this is also a thing. And like if someone was a devotee in the last life, he will generally have that inclination, likings towards this Mridanga, Kartal, and Harinam Sankirtan, Srimad Bhagavatam. Some people can learn Mridanga very quickly. Actually, they have learned it in the previous life, and that impression is there. So this is also applicable in spiritual perspective also. So that is called subtle memory, the impression. And the gross memory, the details are stored in brain, that is deleted with the change of the body.
Bro, is it not like this? All the memories which you have, they are stored in subtle memory also, but we can't access it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, because everything is in the hand of the Lord. Lord is telling that sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattaha smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaisya sarver ahameva vedyo vedanta krit vida videva chaham. So all the sources of the memory is actually in hand of Paramatma. So whatever Paramatma releases,
Not
you
like
can experience that much only. So sometimes Paramatma releases everything and you remember all the details of your past lives. So like Bharat Maharaj was as a deer in a deer body with a low consciousness, he was able to remember. So the key is in the hand of Paramatma. To whatever extent he will release, to that extent we will remember. And he will release according to our karma. He will see how much we are qualified and what is good for us. So like that he does.
yes, bro. Yes, bro. One more doubt. If Krishna told all the reasons for Arjuna's arguments, then why again is teaching further? Means this Jnana Yoga, everything. Means by third chapter it is done, na?
Yeah. So actually, Krishna in the end of the third chapter, Arjuna was asking that how to conquer this lust. So Krishna told that how you can conquer this lust, and then what are the characteristics of lust, and what are the sitting places of this lust. Then Krishna gave all this knowledge. So in the beginning of the fourth chapter, as I told you, that Krishna is bringing that point, because Krishna wants Arjuna to inquire about how you deliver this knowledge to Sun God. So the primary purpose of Bhagavad Gita is fulfilled. So whole this Bhagavad Gita is actually being spoken by Krishna only. If you see, Krishna is only asking the questions.
Okay.
You got it?
Yes, yes.
Because Arjuna is a self-realized soul. He will not ask this kind of questions. So Krishna has a plan that I want to teach humanity these principles. So for that I need some questions. So Krishna is inducing that questions as Paramatma in the heart of Arjuna. And Arjuna is asking. Initially 4 doubts Krishna asked through Arjuna and Krishna answered them. That is cleared. So now in the content list of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has the next topic as why my birth and activities are transcendental.
Okay.
So Krishna should, as Paramatma, he should induce a perfect question for that. And therefore he is building this context that Arjuna, you remember I gave this knowledge long back to sun god. So if you say this to Arjuna, Krishna knows very well that the next question Arjuna will ask how it is possible. Then I will answer how my birth and activities are transcendental. So all this Bhagavad Gita is pre-planned. And whatever questions Arjuna is asking, Krishna is only making him ask. Because Krishna is saying such things, Krishna knows that after this question will come and then I will answer. Everything is pre-planned. And this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is bringing the chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona so that Arjuna starts lamenting. Everything is pre-planned. Krishna knows everything, what will happen when.
Yes, bro.
And he is only teaching through Arjuna.
Yes, bro, I understood now. Thank you, bro.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, if there is no live questions, you can text me. So we can stop here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।